Okay, welcome to week 2. If you haven't seen the first video, hi, my name is Grace, and I am in the process of attempting The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, a book about unlocking your creativity and just generally being more creative in all aspects of your life. This week, there were a lot of assignments. I started off feeling pretty overwhelmed, but I think it went pretty well. Unfortunately, this week didn't feel super productive in terms of actually getting art pieces done, but it's okay, and I'm going to get into that here in a second. The tasks for this week were pretty extensive, but not really once I kind of got into them and was able to spread them out over the week. It didn't feel as overwhelming, but when you're reading everything on Monday, Sunday, whatever day that you start, it can feel a little bit like, oh my god, I have a lot of homework to do. That on top of, doctor's appointments, social engagements, whatever you want to call it. It felt really busy. It's strange how busy I've felt since quitting my job. Don't tell my old coworkers that I said that. I feel like I learned a lot from making the last video and just all the trial and error that I went through. So hopefully they continue to improve with every week as I get a little bit faster and more savvy with just the entire process. The first task from this week was to do affirmative reading, where you go back to week 1 and she has a list of affirmations that you're meant to read. And this week I was supposed to read them every morning and every evening and kind of monitor if I started to have any changes in my feelings about them throughout the week. And I will say Monday I was kind of reading them like, she says to be alert to any attitudinal shifts, and can you see yourself setting aside any skepticism yet? And I would say yes, definitely. Some with some more than others. I'm not reading any of them with a ton of cynicism like I was at the beginning of the week anymore, but they do it just kind of feels like words on a page, and I'm having trouble connecting it to my everyday life and kind of visualizing what this affirmation actually looks like in my life. But I'll get to that in a second. The second task, and this was a big one, was where does your time go? And you were meant to list 5 major activities this week and how much time you gave to each one. I didn't exactly do that, but I kind of tried to do a play-by-play of my hours during the day, and I got up, I made breakfast, I got ready, I went to the gym, and just how many hours I spent doing those things. I will say a lot of mysterious gaps seemed to appear in a lot of the days where I just was kind of like trying to reflect on my afternoon and going, what happened during that time? My suspicion is it's the phone, That's obviously a problem that's going to be hard to eliminate entirely. I'm also just kind of trying to get used to a new routine with being unemployed and putting a lot of things in perspective and prioritizing different things like my health, looking nice, not just wearing sweatpants and no makeup and, not working out and sitting around for 8 hours a day. I also really had to force myself to take some breaks this week because my wrist was starting to get pretty stressed out, and I needed to take, honestly, just like 2 or 3 days to just not use it for as much as possible. Because if you have, a dominant hand and you're not completely 50-50 ambidextrous, you'll notice how much you use that one hand for absolutely everything. Brushing your teeth, drying your hair, cooking, cleaning, like holding the vacuum. And when you start to switch to your non-dominant hand, you realize how much strength you've built up in this other arm and shoulder even over the years by how weak the less dominant hand suddenly it is apparent that it has no muscle at all. So that's been interesting, but it was difficult forcing myself to rest and take care of myself in that way and slow down and not feel this urgency that I have to get something done. I think a lot of time that I've spent socializing and on my phone and playing games and getting on TikTok is the major time suck for me. And also just kind of, I don't know if it's executive dysfunction or what, but sometimes I just sit down and I kind of like stare at my computer and I'm just like, I know I need to get up and do something, but something is keeping me glued to this chair right now and I don't feel the energy to start. Things like iced coffee and some tea in the afternoon will usually help with that. I would say, reflecting on this one, I would like to give more time to the work itself of actually creating art and painting and working on my color theory course. I'm trying not to be too hard on myself about that this week because this week was really about a lot of rest and filling the well, so to speak, which I think that aspect of this week went really well. Another one of the tasks was list 20 things that you enjoy doing and try to work those things into your artist date or just into your week in general. This again felt really nice to be filling the well. For my artist date this week, I went to the park where I grew up and used to spend a ton of time. And I haven't been there in a really long time. So it was actually it was a little bit emotional going and seeing how much has changed, how much hasn't changed. And it just felt like home. I don't know how else to describe it. I sat down and had a nice little lunch, made a little sketch on my notepad that I'm not going to share here because it's not very good. I'm trying to practice perspective and it is early stages. It's a little challenging. Anyway, and then tomorrow I think I'm going to let myself play some video games because I've kind of been avoiding that because it feels unproductive. I'm trying to rest my thumb joint. But this week I actually drew the character/concept artist sticky note out of the cup. If you remember from last video, I decided to put all of those imaginary lives into a cup and draw one every week just to kind of give myself a subject to focus on if I was having trouble figuring out what to draw. Character concept artist didn't go super well this week just because I didn't have a lot of time to dedicate to making art. I should have made more time, if I can rephrase that. A little bit of synchronicity did happen though, where I got an email about a webinar about character creation and concept art, and so that was a really cool little thing to attend and put into my day. How you can make characters interesting and think about their story and that kind of thing. Another one of the tasks kind of connects to the first one. It says to dip back into week 1 and read the affirmations and then note which ones cause the most reaction. Which one sounds the most ridiculous, which one sounds the most significant. The ones that I have the most trouble with are the first 2 in the list. Creativity is the natural order of life. Life is energy, pure creative energy. I don't disagree with that at all. I just kind of have trouble picturing what that means. And the second one, there is an underlying indwelling creative force infusing all of life, including ourselves. That one, again, I agree, but I don't know what that looks like or what that feels like. So it's a little difficult for me to read that one, especially when it's right at the beginning of the list, and kind of take it to heart, if that makes sense. Let me know your thoughts if you have any thoughts on those affirmations. The ones that I like a lot are creativity is God's gift to us, and using our creativity is our gift back to God. And the second one is our creative dreams and yearnings come from a divine source. As we move toward our dreams, we move toward divinity. And maybe that's because I was raised religious, that those kind of, I don't know, it's a little bit easier for me to picture some kind of higher spiritual power that's guiding me, helping me, sending me messages a little bit. I know that sounds crazy, that that's easier for me to understand than the other two, but it just is. So Morning pages are still going really well. Honestly, the mornings where I have felt really bad are when the morning pages come out the most interesting. It's almost like I'm just kind of trying to feel the sensations in my body, describe them, make metaphors around them, and then the morning pages come out really weird, and I love that. Most of the time, though, it's just me talking about like, oh, I have this to do today. A lot of times I'll get halfway through them and there's not really a lot else to write, so I will have to start coming up with more creative things to do. And that's been my favorite part about the morning pages, is just allowing myself to get into that flow and find really weird things that have come out of them. I did do my artist date this week. Like I said, I went to the park and sat down and had a little lunch, and that was really nice. It was a little bit chilly, but I kind of did that on purpose because I'd like to go back in a few weeks and just see how things have grown, how things have changed, and how much more green it's going to be within just a few weeks. So I'm looking forward to seeing the season change. It felt incredibly healing. I don't know how else to describe it. I remember all the experiences that I've had there, good and bad, mostly good though, and to just see how beautiful it was outside and to actually be out in nature again after working from home for over 2 years. And I saw like a whole family of squirrels and a little chipmunk, and just, it was nice. And then again, were there any other issues this week that you consider significant for your recovery, and describe them? Again, it's just patience and resilience for me that I really need to keep working on. I don't think I'm doing a bad job, but that's something that I want to keep getting better at. I feel it happening very slowly. The fact that I was able to take an entire day on Tuesday to just rest and watch, inspirational videos, and I really forced myself not to draw and use my hand that was tired. That was a really big challenge, and I'm impressed that I was able to do it at all and not get my iPad out and start doing something, especially because I have a lot of projects that I want to be working on. So, and I'm really looking forward to starting week 3, recovering a sense of power. I had planned to kind of talk about some of the quotes from the book that I've highlighted that made me feel a certain way, but I think I'm going to wait on that. Maybe I'll add that in next week. But either way, thanks for watching, and leave a comment if you want to talk about your experience with the Artist's Way. I'd be happy to check out your videos if you're recording it, or any other, if you're on Substack, or not Twitter, Substack, Blue Sky, whatever. Just let me know. And I'll see you next week.